if I'm talking too loud. I'm just going to look at my phone for this part. But so this is a first full circle moment. We lived in Pittsburgh for 18 years and raised our boys here. After my dad died in 2006 from cancer, I was looking for somewhere to volunteer, and I found the Caring Place. I volunteered for almost 10 years. I learned how to really listen. I learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and that certainly helped me in the next 5 years that came after that. When we moved to North Carolina in 2018, I kept looking for somewhere like the Caring Place to volunteer. I really missed it. But then Sean was diagnosed in 2019 with rhabdomyosarcoma, a childhood cancer. He was 27 years old. I was with him at diagnosis in Montreal and was his caretaker for 4 years. He beat this cancer 4 times. He was, what his doctor in Cleveland said, a statistical outlier. After years of chemo, radiation, and a stem cell transplant, it came back again. His doctor in Montreal was out of options. Sean consulted with a few doctors in New York, San Diego, and Boston. And then he found Dr. Pete, and Dr. Pete was exactly who we needed. He dedicated his life to children with pediatric cancer. We went to the Cleveland Clinic, we moved there. Sean was optimistic for a single-person vaccine and pushed for his genetic testing as well. He was laser focused on finding his cure, and his doctors exhausted all possibilities. He never gave up, and more importantly, they never gave up. He was advocating, if not for himself, for all children he saw each day when we went to the clinic. But being at a children's clinic, it was a totally new experience for us. He would say every day, "I'm doing this for them." Despite his heroic efforts and unbeatable will to live, he passed away in January 2023. I knew I had to do something after he passed to honor his life. His life and mission would not be in vain. Before he passed away, he said to me, "Mom, maximize your talents." And I said, "Well, what are they?" But I was determined to start a foundation. And what would I name the foundation? I was an elementary school teacher, and I see some of the teachers from Sean's school and the boys' school. I always wanted to write a children's book, and I thought that would be the best way to start. So one day my mother called me, and she said I had a dream, and it was about Sean, which unlocked a memory from when I was 5 years old. We were at Expo 67, and I wanted to ride on the carousel. And I bugged this is the true part of the story. I wanted so badly to get on the carousel, but it was going to rain that day. So my mother, typical mother, said, "I don't think you should go on the carousel. It's going to rain. You're going to get sick." All the typical excuses we use as mothers. So basically, I bugged her until she let me go. And as soon as I got on the carousel, it started to pour rain. But every time I came around, I was smiling and waving, and I didn't care that it was raining. So 3 weeks after Sean passed away, my mother had this dream. And she was at the same carousel at Expo 67. It was pouring rain, and she said every time it came around, it was Sean on the carousel. So I said, well, that's what has to be the name of a foundation. That's what kids should be doing. They should be riding carousels in the pouring rain instead of doing treatment and going to chemo. So I also wanted children with cancer to see themselves in a story and acknowledge their bravery and the bravery of their families. So I incorporated the foundation almost 1 year ago. We honor young superheroes, and we will help as many families as we can. That was Sean's mission, and now it's mine. So. Every day, Rory and his mom drove by the amusement park on their way to the hospital. Every day, he asked his mom if he could go ride on the carousel. "Maybe tomorrow, Rory. It looks like it's going to rain." The next day, Rory asked again, and the next day, and the next day, and he never gave up asking. He went home every day and told his two little brothers about the carousel and all the fun things he wanted to do at the amusement park, and how they could eat at a food truck. How cool is that? They were his best friends. Rory was a smart little boy. He liked superheroes and music and hockey and food. Boy, did he love food. He liked building forts and playing in the woods, and he loved his Nana and Papa. Rory was going to the hospital for treatment for cancer. It wasn't easy going there every day and not being able to play outside with his friends. He missed them. But he was happy. He got up every day and put on his favorite shirt, his lucky hat, and grabbed his stuffed animal, Sydney, the penguin. He was happy he made some new friends at the clinic, Coop and Andrew. They all wore masks and capes and played dress up, mostly as superheroes, because that's who they were. They laughed and petted the dogs that came to visit. Maggie was his favorite. And then they had chemo. But the best part of each day was seeing his favorite person, Dr. Pete. He was smart and funny and told good stories and always made you feel strong and brave. Another week went by and Rory asked his mom, "Can we go to the carousel today, please?" And she said yes. She parked the car and sighed. "It looks like it's gonna rain. I see storm clouds coming." "That's okay, Mom," Rory said. "I'm strong and brave and rain doesn't scare me. I'm a superhero, remember?" And he laughed. And all of a sudden she remembered when she was a little girl at the amusement park in the pouring rain. She was the same age as Rory, begging her mom to let her ride the carousel. And her mom, Rory's Nana, said, "It's gonna rain. We should go home. I don't want you to get sick." But that freckle-faced little girl never gave up. She convinced her mom to let her go. As soon as she got on the carousel, it started to pour. And every time the carousel came around, she was smiling and waving. She wasn't scared of the rain either. Rory's mom looked in the back seat at those big blue eyes staring at her and said, "Put on your bucket hat and let's go." Rory squealed with delight, fist bumped his mom, and ran faster than he had ever run before. And guess who was there? His dad and two brothers were standing at the carousel. She sent them a message from the car and told them, "Be here now." His mom told them to come because it was a special day. The man said, "We may have to close the ride because there's a storm." But she convinced him to let Rory ride one time. He said, "Okay, but this is the last ride for today." Rory got on that carousel and roared laughing in the pouring rain. And every time he came around, he smiled and waved at his mom. His brothers were jumping up and down, cheering him on. Then his dad went to the food truck and get everyone tacos for dinner. They all went home, and the brothers spent the rest of their night playing in their fort. They all slept in Rory's room. A few weeks later, it was another busy day at the amusement park. There was a lineup today at the carousel. It was pouring rain. One by one, the kids all got on. There was one seat left. The man started it up, and someone said, "Where's that little boy?" Someone yelled, "There he is," and pointed up. Up in the sky, there was the most beautiful carousel on a fluffy white cloud, and there was Rory, waving and smiling. All the children looked up and saw him. They were all waving and smiling too. The sun broke through the clouds, and a rainbow appeared. He sprinkled magic cure dust down on them, and that made him happy. It wasn't raining anymore. The storm was over, and there was his mom, smiling and waving with Sydney the penguin. She was grateful for every day she had with him. He was her superhero.